live right now. But what I wanted to talk about mainly is as you guys all know, tomorrow is our day to voice ourselves, right? To stand up for what we believe in, who we believe supports us and will best support us, I should say. And I hope you guys are all going out and taking advantage of that because it really, really does matter. Oops, hold on here a second. Because it really, really does matter. It is our opportunity to be proactive, which is something we should always take, right? There are other actions we can take. There are other actions that may be necessary, and some that aren't. But in saying that, I just wanted to take a minute to kind of go over one of the bills that is in. It's a Measure 114 for Oregon. So this is for a majority of my Oregon voters that are out there and my Oregon viewers that are on the channel. Hey, Van Life with Gina, good to see you. This really does affect us. It's something that I think we need to, have some truth on. And we'll talk about it just for a second. So let's see if we get some more people in here. I hope you're all well, Gina, where you're at. Hope your van's staying nice and toasty. Looking forward to seeing it someday. But I love your videos. So let's see. Uh-oh, dead air. Whoa, that's weird for me. Anyway, I hope you guys are all out there doing the things that you need to be doing on this day, tonight, and tomorrow. And speaking of which, we have a blood moon. So if you're in anywhere from, say, about a third the way on the third western side of the United States, you're going to get a really good view of it as long as the clouds aren't out. There's a blood moon that's going to be happening. All kinds of spooky things about that, right? But yeah, take a look at that. If you can, get some pictures of it. Share it with everybody out there, right? And you know, enjoy it because that's something that doesn't happen very often. I know I'm probably bouncing the table around. And like I said, to those of you that are coming in, what I'm wanting to talk about is a bill that we have here. It's a measure, at least Measure 114. There are plenty of other measures and bills and things like that are being voted on around the United States. And we need to have some truth on these kind of things. We need to be able to, talk about it and that kind of stuff. Hey, POTB, I'm glad to see you're here. Hang on a second. There we go. I'm going to give anybody, what I'm like about, what I want people to be respectful, kind, all that kind of stuff, pushing people up. No drama in here. They have their own rights to do that on their own channel, and I encourage them to do so. But as far as that goes, just keep it clean and nice in here, keep it happy, let's say, right? Like the hat says. Anyway, hey, so I want to read this from 114, and pardon my reading, the light's kind of a little crappy right now, but says here, so our measure 114, it's an anti-2A measure, right? So it's meant to take away our gun rights, and this is what they want to do. And I'll read you this. This says the result of a yes vote. A yes vote requires a background check, a safety training course, fee for permit to acquire firearms. So they're going to want to charge you for a permit once you've received your safety training course and your background check to be able to purchase firearms or ammo, right? And they don't really say that in here. They just say firearms, but it's both. It says the state police will maintain a new permit and firearms database. Databases are illegal, unconstitutional at least. Let's put it that way. They're not supposed to be keeping a database of the firearms and so forth that we purchase, right? So if the ATF isn't supposed to do it, if the feds aren't supposed to do it, why are we going to let our state do it? I mean, really? Because what's next? I mean, what next are they going to want to keep a list of, right? How much booze you're buying, right? And I say that because when the digital dollar comes, they'll be able to do that if you allow that. They'll be able to see everything you buy and be able to track it, right? That's not freedom. That's tyranny, right? We need to get that and understand that. But I'll read it. I'll try to stay unbiased as possible. You guys all know that, I love firearms. I love everything about them, right? As far as shooting them, enjoying, teaching people how to use them, all that kind of good stuff. That being said, it says they'll maintain a database, criminally prohibits certain magazines with exceptions. What that means is any standard capacity magazine, in my eyes, but any magazine that holds over 10 rounds uh, will be banned at this point. Now, it claims that they will be grandfathering any, say, current possession of those magazines, but we're going to talk about that in a minute. A no vote, all a no vote results in is the vote retains the current laws to sell, to transfer, a seller or a transferer, meaning if you're going to sell a gun or you're transferring a gun to somebody by giving it to them as a gift, etc., or an FFL, etc., all that, must request a criminal background check. Just so you guys all know, when they tell you that who would be against common sense background checks, right? That kind of stuff. Background checks have always been, not always been there, excuse me, have been there for years. There's very few states that I know of. I don't know of any really, but off the top of my head, but if there are very few areas that don't require a background check. And there is no gun show loophole, because any gun show I've ever been to, and we're talking about Oregon here, every single one of them requires a background check. Does that mean somebody could go out in the parking lot and sell person to person? Yes. But if they don't call the phone number to get a background check on that person, which you can do yourself as a citizen, you don't have to go to an FFL to do it, just so you know. Or if you don't go to an FFL to get a background check, you are breaking the law, right? So there's already a law in place for that, right? You're breaking it if you do that. So when people say, but we have to have these background checks, why would you be against that? I'm necessarily not, except for when we talk about strictly, we have the right to. But I'm saying they've already imposed that on us, so it already exists. They're lying to you when they say that that's not there. They're also lying to you when they say that there's loopholes, because there isn't, okay? Those kind of things you should be aware of, right? And you should question it, because if somebody's going to not be honest with you, why would you vote for anything they're interested in or stand behind, or for that person for that matter, right? Let's see who we got. Chrissy Cat, good to see you. Good to see you guys. Marcy Collins, good to see you. The Watchman, always good to see you. So it basically leaves in place the laws that are in place right now. In order to carry, it leaves in place, in order to conceal carry in our state, you do have to take a class. You have to get a concealed carry permit that's issued to you by the sheriff. So when you go and apply for that, you pay your $50. He does a background check and other extensive checks, and he makes sure that you're a sane person, I guess, and he issues you your right to carry concealed. Now, my opinion on that is we should just have a constitutional carry state, right? And when somebody, of course, does something they're not supposed to, there's consequences to that. And that may be losing your right to be able to carry or have a firearm to defend yourself, right? That could be one of the punishments for it. But what I'm saying is I do believe in constitutional carry, but this will maintain our concealed carry the way it is right now, right? So it doesn't do any changes to that. And it says here there is a safety course is not required, and there are no magazine capacity restrictions. Okay, so it used to be when we did concealed carry permits that we had to go out to the range and go out and qualify and at least hit an 8-inch paper plate at 15 yards, what is it, 8 out of 10 times or something like that, right? That's not that hard to do. I still think that kind of thing probably is helpful, because there are some people that should get out there and do some practicing, and it might make them consider, am I the right person to go ahead and carry? Not saying that they don't have the right to carry, but am I the right person to be out there trying to defend other people if I can't hit an 8-inch plate at 15 yards, right? Let's use some common sense there. But I do believe they have the right to have a firearm, to protect themselves, to defend themselves, right? That's not that hard to do. I still think that kind of thing probably is helpful, because there are some people that should get out there and do some practicing, and it might make them consider, am I the right person to go ahead and carry? Not saying that they don't have the right to carry, but am I the right person to be out there trying to defend other people if I can't hit an 8-inch plate at 15 yards, right? Let's use some common sense there. But I do believe they have the right protect themselves. So that being said, that's what it'll leave in place as far as that goes. We do have a course for concealed carry that has to be taken, but pretty much now it's all online, right? They don't even have they have classroom courses, but most people just do it online and go to the sheriff's department, right? Stuart, good to see you. Dakota Hayes, good to see you. CJ Blaze, always good to see you. Bug Out Adventures, good to see you. Okay, so what this entails is, and this is where it gets kind of ugly, and I want people to kind of understand what they're voting for. It says here, whereas the people of the state of Oregon have seen a sharp increase in gun sales, gun violence, and raised fear in Oregonians' armed intimidation, it is imperative to enhance public health and safety in all communities. I think that's nothing more than fear. One, yes, there's a rise in gun sales. That's because people see what's happening around the world as around the country, and they want to be there to protect themselves because no matter what, the police aren't going to be there first. You are. You're the only person that can protect yourself. That's why there's an increase in sales. And there's nothing wrong with that because that is our constitutional right. So I don't even know why they would put that in there, except they want to taint this with some fear, right? Now, as far as the gun violence and the raise in that, I think that's mainly from the research I've done in the metropolitan areas like Portland, Salem, maybe Eugene, things like that, right? Those areas, yeah, I believe it because the people that are running that, mostly liberal politicians and leaders, have let that place go. If you haven't been to Portland lately and looked at what it looks like in there, it's shameful, right? There should not be that many homeless, right? They should have a way to help with that. But we're going to get off topic too much, so I'll try to not stray. But what I'm saying is that's kind of stuff. When you create desperation and shortages of things and stuff like that, you get people doing things they normally wouldn't do. You increase crime. That's just what happens. And buying guns is one way to hold that back, right? Now, okay, so basically what this bill wants to do is it wants to set up a permitting process. That's one of the big ones, right? It wants to set up a permitting process on top of all the others, right? If you have a concealed carry, so here's the thing: if you have a concealed carry, if you are a law enforcement officer and have your own private firearms, if you are an FFL holder, it doesn't matter. You are not excluded from getting this permit they want to put in place, right? Now, I will say this: the sheriff's department and most law enforcement agencies are against this bill. Okay, they don't want to do it because they've come out publicly to say we don't have the manpower, the resources, or the money to do this, right? And the massive amount of people. Just think, if there was millions of guns sold in Oregon alone in 1 year, all of those people are going to be rushing in to get permits. Now, if they do so and take their firearms outside and are a concealed carry firearm holder, they'll then be breaking the law because without the permit, you're no longer allowed to do that. So if these people can't give us the permits, for one, how on earth are we going to be able to stay legal, right? Because most gun owners or firearms owners are law-abiding citizens, right? Or as I should say, I hate that word law-abiding. We're lawful people, right? We're good people. We don't want to harm or do anything that we're not supposed to per se, and so we don't. But how are we supposed to do this if they don't have even a system in place and the people that are supposed to be doing it? Now, seems to be some disagreement on whether or not it's the state police that'll be doing it or the sheriff's department that'll be doing it. But the sheriff's department has flat said they don't want to do it, and they're not set up to, and they're not going to. Right? Now, the state police, I would assume they feel the same way because they're stretched even thinner, and I don't see how they're going to have have the funds needed and the people needed. I mean, you're talking about it could be millions of Oregonians, but realistically, even tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands coming in. Because I know that's the first thing I'm going to have to do if we get this thing passed is go in there just to get a permit for something I've already done that. So to educate people, if you take if you have a concealed weapons permit, you've already taken a course, right? You've already proven you're safe with the firearm, and you've already taken a background check, an extensive one with the sheriff's department. Why would you need that permit? And that's one thing that I think people should ask that question. And when they vote, they should vote with a no just because of that, right? Just that one thing. It doesn't make any sense. Even a police officer, you got law enforcement that has a private gun, they'll have to come in and be given their duty weapon to go out and work their shift and come and shift it back in, right? Because technically they can't, if they take it home, they have to have a permit to do that. Now, I'm sure they'll probably issue out all those permits as fast as they can, but they shouldn't have to go through any less steps than the citizens should. So they should have to pay a fee if that's the case, and they should have to wait for their permit and their background check. So how are we going to have police out there on the streets other than being handed their service weapon to go to work, right? This is what I'm talking about. This is not common sense or make any sense. Gun control, right? Or violence reduction. We already have the laws and bills and things like that in place. We just need to be enforcing them and enforce them, meaning it, right? Stop letting people out that shouldn't be let out, right? Have serious consequences for people who commit serious crimes. But anyway, so that permit, that's one of the things they want to do. They want to have this issuing process. I've heard it doesn't state in the voters thing, but I've heard that permit is going to be the background check is not going to be just your standard federal background check like your NICS check. This thing is going to be talking to neighbors, friends. You're going to have to submit your social media things, and then it's up to somebody that may not agree with you and your views, but you've done nothing wrong. It's up to them to look at your social media and your views that your opinions that you've posted and decide if you are mentally sane enough to have firearms. See, that's not right. Okay, and I mean, they're treating it as if it's like if you're going to become a law enforcement officer or something like that. That isn't constitutional, and it isn't right. Right? And to have to wait for that. So I won't be my firearms will have to stay in my home, the way I understand it, until I get this permit. And if they don't know how they're going to issue this permit, how long will that be? Months? Years? I mean, they have no plan. So we have to ask these questions before we just say yes to something that sounds like a good thing, right? Okay, the other thing it wants to do is it wants to create a database with these permits. And these permits are also going to be required to buy ammunition as well. So they want to permit this and create a database, right? And we all know that is unconstitutional and that shouldn't be happening in our state, right? Or in any state. Okay? The database isn't needed. I mean, we're lying to ourselves if we say that they don't already have a database, because let's face it, they've already said that they are scanning all of the background checks that we do, but they don't have an active database. Well, all they have to do is plug in a search engine, and in 10 minutes they have a searchable database, right? They want to make it seem like it's not there, but it's there. Okay, so let's not be fooled by that. And especially if you're, say, on the other side and you're not necessarily a gun owner, that's dishonesty, because they do have a database and they can search it. They just have to put in a search engine. It's that easy. Takes about 10 minutes probably to upload on there, and then they'll be able to clip in a name, a number, a serial number, whatever it is, and find out the information they need to. Now, to some people that may seem like an okay thing, but it is too far of an overstep or an overreach, okay? Because that is starting to treat people like criminals before they are, right? And that's not, we're not here for what do they call that, minority report type future crime. Let's go ahead and nip it in the bud because he has tendencies and he may just go ahead and commit a crime because we think so, right? We don't want to do that. Now, the other thing, besides the full background check, is that it has a what I consider standard capacity magazines because they come with the firearm from the factory, right? They want to ban the standard capacity magazines, or in their terms, high capacity magazines. And the reason that that is ridiculous is one, I mean, the police that are supposed to deal with it have high capacity magazines. The criminals don't care about any of these measures or laws. You can pass all you want to pass, and a criminal, because he is a criminal, is still going to do what they want, right? Example, they know they're not supposed to have Glock switches, but they do, right? They buy whole kinds of them, and I guess they're out there on the streets. Now, whatever your opinion is on whether we should have those or not, but still, if you're breaking a law or you're a criminal, it's not going to stop you. You're going to do what you're going to do. So high capacity magazines is not, I mean, the criminals are going to have them. The police are going to have them. We should have them. And to be quite honest, in the days when I did compete and so forth like that, and like IPSC and whatnot, I started out with 10 round magazines because that's what the 45 had. It was in the limited class, 10 round magazines. You just had to get fast at reloading. I can tell you what, you can reload very quickly. So honestly, the 1 second at most, even for some people, even less, that it takes to reload a magazine isn't going to make a difference. Not to mention the standards, the statistics, the FBI statistics for most firefights are over within 3 to 6 rounds, right? So the high capacity magazine really isn't even relevant. However, that being said, how are they going to regulate that, right? For those of you out there that have purchased magazines like that, there's no serial numbers on them, right? And if you buy them, like I have before, like they have a sale at, say, Palmetto State Arms, and you buy a rifle bag and you get 10 magazines, P-mags for your AR-15, right? They don't, I mean, they send a packing slip and that's it. Most people don't keep their receipts. Now, that's what was told to me is well, you'll just have to have a receipt to prove when that magazine was purchased. How is that going to work? Right? Yeah, you'll see them disappear in the stores and everything will be 10 rounds if you pass this. But there are millions in Oregon alone of high capacity magazines that are going to be grandfathered with no way to enforce them. And even the law enforcement has said, how are we going to enforce that? There's no way to prove that they bought it post or pre-ban if a ban comes into place, because have no doubts, this is a ban, okay? And if you're not watching what's happening in Canada, I mean, look how far they've gone. Their measure wasn't moving fast enough, and Trudeau just decided to say it starts today and doesn't allow any more in, right? If I was in Canada, I would be really angry and worried for what's coming. So we can't allow that to happen here, right? We have to take this opportunity to say, this is nonsense, right? It's nonsense. The best way for people to protect themselves is to protect themselves. The second best way is for the law enforcement they'll call, right? And the third best way is to be self-aware and not be doing things or in areas that are, bad areas or bad things to do, right? I mean, that's common sense. We don't need any more laws passed on 2A. What we need is strict enforcement of the laws that are already there, right? That are already in place, and even loosen some of them up, like make it constitutional carry instead of being able to have a permit. That doesn't make any sense to me, to have a concealed carry permit. You can carry open, but you can't carry concealed. I would rather people carry concealed, because when you carry open, it just makes people all flustered and all that kind of stuff. You know what? It should just be concealed carry. You can carry any way, or constitutional carry. You can carry any way you see fit, right? And people, again, shouldn't be freaking out there if they see somebody carrying, because that's going to be the guy that keeps the real nutcase that walks in, that's had a bad day or whatever, or his girlfriend broke up with him or whatever it may be, that happened, comes in there and starts shooting the place up. You're going to want the people that are there that second to be defending you until help can arrive. This bill will drastically, or this measure will drastically reduce that, right? Right. Okay, so let's take a look at what people are saying here. Hey, Lifeboat, good to see you. I love the Lifeboat. If you guys haven't been to the Lifeboat, you got to check it out, especially if you're somebody that's struggling with addiction issues, whether it be past or present. All are welcome there. That's a great place. It's super positive. In fact, I'm going to click there, and you're going to be a moderator for my channels, because you know, if you haven't seen the beginning of his videos, it says it perfectly as far as what you can and can't say and on his channel and whatnot, right? It's all about being respectful, and I love the way he says it. Go check it out, see it for yourself, because it really is awesome. My second trusted buddy there, I probably need to make a moderator, is Wages World. If you haven't checked out Wages World, you really should. He does keep an eye out on solar weather and different things going on with the earth. And I tell you what, it's a non-fear way. It's not a guy that's ever going to come out there and go, oh my goodness, the world's ending in 2 days. Or boy, that thing just hit us and we're going to lose everything. No, it's not that. It's about learning. It's about education. It's about informing yourself so that you don't panic and waste time panicking, and you're well informed, right? So that you don't waste time with the people that just want to do it for clicks, right? And that's the channel. Wages World is that guy. Awkward Texan. I love Awkward Texan. She is an amazing person. I can't say enough about her. She just supports people, has positive, and that's what my channel's always been about, is positivity. You know, yeah, it's kind of a prepping channel, readiness channel, right? And I have a gun channel too, the Rip Curl Readiness at the Range, as you guys all know. It's because I want to share in a positive way, not in a fearful way, my love for firearms, the history of firearms, how to fix and tinker on your firearm, which really is hard to do these days on YouTube. You wouldn't believe what it takes to upload a video. And, you know, just to teach people how to prepare in an unpanicked way, right? Because we don't need to panic. You just need to be prepared. It's no different than we lived 100 years ago. Look at how we lived 100 years ago, and that's how we should live today. In fact, if we had not clicked, I accept, on most of the toys and gadgets and stuff that we use, we probably wouldn't be in the position we're in now, right? Right, because we know how to take care of ourselves and survive without assistance from anybody else, right? And have them be doing the job they were meant to do. All right, let's see here. Survival Games. Gotta say, I love Survival Games. Survival Games is a great person, great show. I love the questions on them. I don't get them right a lot, but that card game is excellent that she's put together, and you guys really should check her out. You really should. Bonnie Bethel, one of my great friends. It's always good to see you here. Farmer Son Prepping. It is always great to see. If you want to see, these are some down-to-earth people right here, right? They're not in this for attention or anything else. They're in this for the community. These are great community people, and I'm happy to see them here. The Watchman, he's always out there just sharing what he shares in his way, trying to get people to be not only spiritually ready, but also use common sense, right? And I think he's a lot of the times misunderstood by some. And you know what? I've always enjoyed his content, and well, he's mainly in chats, but the things he shares. So I'll take some time to say hi to some other people here. Sparky's Run is in Oregon. Absolutely, no on 114. That's the key to this video. No on 114, because if we pass that, we're going to be in big trouble. And the thing is, when we pass these things, they don't ever give them back. It's not as if they're going to go, well, we were wrong, and you know what, you can have standard capacity magazines. They don't do that, right? Once they've taken something away, they keep it away. We got lucky once when the assault weapons ban sunsetted, and they let it sunset, and that was the right thing to do at that time. Now, the other things they should have done at that time, as you guys all know, and I'll just bring it up shortly, we've got a battle right now for pistol braces, right? They've changed their mind. I mean, think about that. How are you supposed to be a proper citizen if you don't know what the rules are going to be from day to day? I mean, one time they say, yeah, you know what? Pistol braces are okay. So everybody's good. So every gun they built for themselves, every rifle, I should say, they built into the pistol form. And now there's millions of them out there, and they want to change their mind and say no and make everybody felons overnight, right? That's coming. They're working on it right now. We need to say no to that. We need to demand when they have it. And if you haven't watched, a good channel to watch is Guns and Gadgets. He will tell you when there's a comment period. And when there's a comment period at the ATF, you should take the time to not only comment there, but for all of your state and federal officials that you can, just leave an email. You can just copy it and send the same copy to all of them multiple times, right? Because you want to get it through to these people. That's how we get it through to them, that if they pass this, there might be big issues, because we have big issues with it, right? And I know a lot of people say, oh, it never makes any difference. But you know what? It does. It really does. We have changed things. The whole reason the pistol brace did get accepted was because enough people at the comment section said, hey, if you ban this or change the ruling on it, and they're not even laws, they're rules. If you change the ruling on this, you've got 100,000+ people that took the time to say it's a problem. And then you had people saying the right things, like, you know what, maybe disabled vets and other disabled people should sue you, right, for taking away their ability to go out and enjoy the firearms that you said were okay, right? And they're doing the same thing with the forced reset trigger, right? Now, and what I've heard, just so you guys know, the force reset trigger, that one still has to be battled out in court, but this is how they do things. They just say it's no longer legal, or we say it's not legal, even though it's in court still and there's no decision by a judge, and they start going out and tracking them down. That's because they have a database somehow, and they start coming after them and making people criminals, right? Right. So what's next? They've said binary triggers, however, which shoot on the pull and on the release, right? Two separate actions, the gun's operating two separate times, totally legal according to their definitions. They've said they're okay, but now they're starting to think, I don't think those are okay either. And they're thinking about making those no longer acceptable too, right? There needs to be either abolishment of or gotten rid of the ATF, or it needs to be restricted severely, right? Because a lot of these things don't make any sense. Suppressors would help with hearing and shooting. Even in the UK and areas like that, which are extremely anti-gun, still allow suppressors to protect your hearing. So, I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Also, when you're talking about the short barreled rifle requirements, and that we have to pay a tax on a constitutional right, which is not constitutional or right or legal, in my opinion. If you take a fully, and I did a video on this, go back and check it out, a full length legal 16-inch barrel Tavor X95 16-inch barrel rifle is as short or shorter than a short barrel rifle and a pistol brace, pistol with a pistol brace. So my thought is, if their concern is the reason they want a tax stamp on that and want control over it is to limit the amount because of their lethality and whatnot, well, it doesn't make any sense, because a 16-inch barrel that's that short is actually, it's legal 100% and is actually more powerful than an 8-inch barrel pistol or an 8-inch barrel or 10-inch barrel short barreled rifle that's been permitted, right? So what's the point? Because and they say, well, it's about concealability. Well, the bullpup is as concealable as a short barrel rifle. So there's some really cleaning up that needs to happen there. They just need to get rid of that. The short barrel rifle and any other weapon just needs to go away, because it doesn't make any sense whatsoever, right? How about just enforcing the laws on people that break the law and go become mass shooters or robbers or whatever else, gang members, whatever you want to do that's illegal. Just enforce the laws that are already there, right? CJ Blaze, hey, good to see you here, CJ. I know I'm a little rusty on my lives here, but I appreciate seeing you guys all here. Emmanuel Goldstein, you know what? I like Emmanuel. You know why? Because we may not always see eye to eye, but and that's the important part. We're able to communicate with each other and share things that we're passionate about, even if we don't always agree, right? For the better good. And there's a lot that can be learned from that. And I appreciate his comments anytime I see him in my comment section. And he's right. You assume politicians know anything about guns. We already know they don't, because they already say that an AR-15 shoots a 50 caliber bullet that explodes things and all of that. Well, the reality is that a 223 or 5.56 that an AR-15 standard round was made for, or even an M16, is one of the smallest center fire firearms out there, right? There's a couple that are smaller than that, 22 Hornet and some other oddballs, but it doesn't make any sense. It's a tiny round. It was meant to be tiny so they could carry more and wound more, not kill more. That's the design of that round. It was designed to take people out of battle, not 100% kill. And here's another thing too. This one, I love this one, and I'm just going to comment on it because I love it. You know, the thing about deer wearing bulletproof vests and the fact that the AR-15 can go through a bulletproof vest, which makes it a military-grade weapon, which isn't true, because if it was a military-grade weapon, then the military would be using AR-15s instead of M4s, M16s, all those kind of things that are full auto. That's just garbage. And if you believe that kind of stuff, then you really need to do more homework and not just listen to the sounding points, right? Because it's a small round. It's one of the smallest rounds. An AR-15 is not issued to our military, so it's not a military weapon. And they say that, well, what, you think deer are wearing bulletproof vests? Well, if deer were wearing bulletproof vests, do you want to know what I'd use? And you know who I'm talking at, JB? You know, I would use my hunting rifle, because there's no vest out there. Well, there might be one, but that's going to stop my hunting round. That's the point. Hunting rifles for hunting animals are far larger than the ones for hunting people in war, right? You need to do your homework. Most hunting rifles will blow through anything that an AR-15 can't. Right? So your argument is null. It's moot, right? It makes no sense whatsoever. And if they were wearing a bulletproof vest, like you seem to think deer do, it wouldn't matter. It would just make them easier to see, especially if it was nice and orange, right? And then I'd just shoot it with, 300 Win Mag, go right through it, right? Right. So these kind of things, when you're listening to this, and I'm talking to the people on the left, and I mean it with all due respect, it'd be like me coming up to you and something you enjoy doing, whether it's making craft beer or vodka, or you like to go out wine tasting or whatever. And I'm being stereotypical there, but throw in whatever your usual thing you like to do is, and I come and try and tell you, you no longer have the right to do that because I think that it's not good for you or not good for other people. That's what we're talking about here. There are already rules and laws in place for people who infringe on other people's rights, right? There are consequences. That's all that's needed. We don't need this other intervention. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Mrs. Ghetto's here. Mrs. Ghetto, good to see you. MG Toe Forever, good to see you. Filling out my ballot tonight after work. Okay, yeah, so let's talk about that. We're down to the wire, right, guys? Anywhere you are, whether it's Oregon or anywhere. Now, Oregon gets the vote by mail, right? Whatever your opinions are on that, I mean, it works for us here. It works for me. I make sure to sign it, fill it in, and I go down and turn it in. So there are two ways you can do it. You could just put it in the mail, which you should have already done. But as long as it's in the in a certified, or if it's in the mail and postmarked before or by tomorrow, you should be good. But I would do this: go take it to a certified ballot box. Right? They have the ones you can drive up to and just put them in here in my town at least. But wherever you are in Oregon or anywhere else that has mail-in ballot, just go and put it in the at this point, put it in the certified box, right? So that way it's not only time stamped or day stamped for postmarked for today or tomorrow, but it's in the box that goes straight to the ballot place, right? Okay. Then the next thing I'll say is, if you don't live in a state like that or whatnot, go and vote, because Oregon is not the only state that has bills or measures or whatever you want to call them just like this in every state, right? We need to be taking the time to show them just how many people. I know we're busy out there, or it might conflict with a favorite show we want to watch and all, but you know what? That's the reason where we're at right now, right? And why things are so bad. So we really do need to speak up. And I'm not saying, to all of you who are going to say, it doesn't matter what we say or do or vote or anything like that. It does. But even for those people, I'm not going to say I don't agree with you a little bit, especially from the last election. Kind of a little bit of a sting there, right? Kind of still a little salty about that, right? I am. But it doesn't mean that you're giving up your other right to further stand up and stand together, united as Americans, to say it's not okay and I'm not going to go for it, right? So why not do it? Make every effort you can on the call-in periods, on things like this where they consider them. Say no. Make sure your politicians know that if they don't vote pro 2A, you won't be voting for them, right? And make sure to get heard, and then that way you're more justified and they don't listen to us to acting. You get me? That's what I'm talking about. Hey, Arc Wildman Survival. Hey, if you guys haven't seen a channel out there that is like bar none, like if I was like picking teams for my my mag or something like that, man, I'd want Arcman Survival in there, because if he'll eat it, it ain't, and he knows more than anybody else I've seen on the internet. And let me tell you what, he can also show you how to survive out of a garbage can, the wastefulness that we throw away. Let me tell you what, he's found some really cool stuff. So go check him out, man. That's a good friend right there. Chrissy Cat, good to see ya. David Birch for Oregon. Dude, this is awesome. We need to keep these 2A crooks in order. Keep America free. You know what, David? I'm glad to see you, and I'm glad that you saw this live, because you're right. We do need to start standing up, because what a lot of people don't understand about Oregon is they think of it. You tell somebody, hey, you're from Oregon, they think, oh, you're from Oregon, where all the Antifa and lefties and all that kind of stuff happened. That was just Portland, guys. There's a reason there's a drive right now for a thing called the Greater Idaho Plan, which is where basically where 3/4 of Oregon geographically want to separate from Oregon and go to Idaho and join Idaho because their beliefs are more towards how Idaho is run as far as taxes, as far as property costs, building permits and 2A and everything else. We agree or align more with Idaho in a lot of ways. And the reason for that is because Oregon geographically, you can take like it's basically just the top south, or what would that be? Top northwest corner of Oregon, basically Portland, Salem, and maybe Eugene. They might be all on the liberal side, but the rest of Oregon really isn't. The problem is not as densely populated, and it's more rural and farm and smaller towns and cities, and so we don't get represented the way that most of the state geographically believes. And it's really hurt us. I mean, I'm telling you what, Kate Brown was a mess, and the things that she passed were a mess, and we can't allow them any longer. And now we have the chance to step up and change it because she can no longer run. Her term's up for governor. So we need to make a change there too. And, whichever, I'm not going to tell people how to vote, whichever your change is there. The only thing I'm giving my opinion on 114. You can vote. You know what? Even if you voted against it, but you still enjoyed my channel, I still respect you as an American. And you know what? You have that right. I may not agree with it, but it doesn't mean that I can't stand together with you when things get worse. And I'm telling you, if we pass measures like this, it will. Thanks for that, David. There you go. Vote for me as governor. You know what? That might not be a bad idea. Prepping for Life, CJ. Oh, Prepping for Life. Prepping for Life. Another great guy, another great channel. Love seeing what he's doing out there. Telling you what, getting healthy, eating healthy, doing he's doing his homesteading thing. And you know what? The great thing about small shows people that no matter who you are, you're an ordinary person, and you can do it one step at a time, right? Just one different, get a can here, build something there. I live on a little piece of property or a house on a little lot in the middle of a neighborhood, and I can still manage to grow enough food to feed us for quite a while, right? So, and I've shown that in some of the past videos. It can be done. It just takes one step at a time. And I love the saying that Ark Wildman Survival says, inch by inch, it's a cinch. I think I've heard him say that before. All right, Lifeboat, I thank you very much. What a great show, Rip. It is so important. You are a great voice for freedom. Well, I try to be. I'm not perfect by any means. I have my flaws. But you know what? We all do. And we all need to start understanding that and working towards a better life, right? Like you would say at the Lifeboat, to live our best life, right? Right. All right, guys. I didn't want this to be too long for you guys. We're already at 49 minutes. Boy, these things really do go fast. I do want to say that I love all of you guys, that I really appreciate you. No matter how you vote, I still respect and love you. You have my opinion and a little bit of information about some of the truths in the measure 114 in Oregon. And some of the dishonesty that might be being spewed to skew it one way or another. The reality is, the rules the way they are now, they are adequate. While I do think there are changes that even need to be made to those, to be less restrictful, 114 is monstrous. Let me give you an example real quick. One example. The FFL, one of the local gun shops it's on Vilas Road. Go see them. Tell them Rip sent you. And I tell you what, they are already ready that if this passes, they have to shut their doors. Because if they can't get physically that permit, which they won't be able to, because they don't know how they're going to do the permits, and you got the law enforcement saying that, we don't have the manpower or the money to do it, and so nobody's going to get a permit. How are they supposed to transfer or sell firearms? They can't. So all of these local and bigger companies, even the big box stores, are not going to be able to sell firearms if they can't have that permit, or they have no way of getting it. And that's what I say. It's a bad measure that is unnecessary. And I think their real goal, honestly, in my opinion, and in closing here, the real goal is in any of these bills, measures, anything like that that's anti-2A, is to discourage people from even being interested in firearms or shooting anymore. And that's why I started my channel. I'm not going to let that happen. I want people to see the good, positive side of firearms, firearm safety, going out and shooting, teaching it to your children at a younger age and growing them up around it and being respectful of it, right? And keep it going like that, because if we lose it, we will lose everything. Just look at Canada right now and what they're going through, and I pray for them every night. I have friends up there, and I tell you what, those are good people, and they're spread out, but I think they're going to voice their ways. Look at the UK, look at Australia, look at China, right? Look at those countries that haven't had these things and were taken away from a long time ago. And is that how you want to live, right? Because let me give you something that kind of correlates a little bit here. China, they don't get to have guns, right? They also have a digital currency. They also have a social credit score. But what do they want to bring to us? They're trying to discourage gun ownership so that it's easier later for them to take it, so that they can bring in a digital dollar. Then they'll know where everything is and where everything's going, even things other than guns, so that we can slowly get encouraged into a social credit system, right? And a digital dollar where they will control everything and will no longer have control or privacy of our own, over our own things, what we do, what we want to do, right? Even the good things. You'll be told when and where you can do it. So I love all of you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you had a good time. I'm glad I sat down and got it done, especially before tomorrow. Be sure to get out there and vote. No matter how you vote, be sure, if you are a 2A pro, 2A supporter, vote no on 114. If you agree with what I've said, and let's pray tonight and make sure that it doesn't pass, right? Until next time, you guys, stay safe, stay secure, always be aware of your surroundings, and be getting ready and prepared for what may come ahead. And if you've got it, wear it. And if you're wearing it, get out there and practice with it, for not only your safety, but the safety of others, right? Till next time, adios, guys. If I know how to even turn this off.